I sense a disturbance in the Force. On Batuu, at the edge of the unknown region, a threat to the Empire starts growing. It is but a tremble now, yet the Emperor didn't become the most powerful man in the galaxy by being careless. He decides to send his two most powerful assistants, the scrupulous enforcer Lord Darth Vader and the brilliant strategist Grand Admiral Thrawn. These two rivals to the Emperor's favor are only united by their faith in him. Yet on Batuu, even this is subjected to a hard test. Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. As you might have been able to tell from the title of this video, maybe even the thumbnail, I haven't really decided what what that thumbnail is going to be at the time of this video's production. The book I'm going to be talking about will be the follow-up to the book I reviewed last week, and is one which continues the main timeline trilogy, focusing upon its titular character. Namely, I'm going to be talking about Thrawn Alliances. Also written by Timothy Zahn, also translated to German by Andreas Kasprak. And I still don't know if I'm saying that name correctly. While reading this book, I noticed something quite peculiar. This is the cover of the first book. Aside from the close-up on the main character, it is blank, really, aside from the title. It's simple, but it's simple and it's striking. So it is eye-catching in that sense. This is the cover of the second book. It is a little bit busier. There are a lot more details, and also it is noticeably darker. So you get the sense that there is that there is something brewing. There is a progression going on. There is a development that is being explored throughout this book. And however, that only becomes clear once you see the cover of the third book, which is which, as you can tell, is much darker and also features the Emperor himself, aside from the titular character, who now looks a little bit less than pleased. And I really think that this new cover represents the development that has been brewing so far over the course of this series. The series now comes to its conclusion, or maybe fruition, if you wish to say. So, in that sense, this book series actually manages to tell a story without the reader even ever having to crack one book open. That is talent. It is not particularly relevant in terms of the qualities of the second book, but it is still something I found noteworthy regardless. So what can I say about the qualities of this second book? Well, the summary of my impressions is that this book, for lack of a better term, is more than decent. There are plenty of elements to it that that are described and that are presented, and all of these elements flow together in an engaging and eye-catching plot that I think is bound to hold readers' attention and capture their interests. So if you've already read the first book in the series and would like to see the titular character go through a more unorthodox scenario, then I think it is fair to say that this book is bound to be to your liking. And now that I'm done with the broad picture, it's time I delved into some specifics. The plot of this book, just like the plot of the first one, is divided between two narrative threads. But unlike the first book, these two threads both feature the titular character. The first of these threads takes place in the series present and sees Thrawn on a special mission from the Emperor himself alongside Darth Vader, who isn't undercover just to sell. He actually serves an integral role over the course of this book. The second narrative thread actually takes place in the series past, or more precisely during the Clone Wars, when the titular character encounters, or first encountered, Anakin Skywalker, thereby paying off the setup of the previous book, where where it's been said that they have met and that they have worked together. The book jumps between these two narrative threads somewhat liberally, but also therefore in a very unpredictable manner, which which is bound to disorient the reader a little bit, especially if whoever reads this book doesn't read it in one go, which, given the book is almost 500 pages long, is basically a guarantee. Compounding that disorientation is the fact that both narrative threads are actually presented from a variety of different perspectives, which, while somewhat more helpful in terms of in terms of characterization, really doesn't help allow the reader to really get their bearings. Thankfully, the plotting does a lot to mitigate that disorientation. It is still intricate, but it manages to make itself observable or understandable, granting the readers a bird's eye view perspective on what is actually going on. and it manages to do so partly by leaning into that disorientation and creating a narrative with a lot of twists and turns, a lot of reveals, and a lot of surprises, or a lot of thrills along the way. All the while playing into the insider-outsider distinction that the book itself is also setting up. That aspect of this book is very much aided by the world building, which I low-key find that it actually steals the show throughout the book. Given how effectively this book manages to manages to present all of its elements, their connections to each other, and also why exactly it is that these elements are relevant to the plot. That allows the world itself to become more fully realized, more dynamic, but also allows for its various individual elements to have a distinctive narrative impact, thereby rewarding the reader for their patience, for their attention to the story. Which, again, I have to say, I find to be an interesting and engaging development. When it comes to characterization, however, I have to say that is where where I really have plenty of issues. It's not. I don't really have issues, but it's perhaps more of a mixed bag than other categories, than other things I typically look at. The titular character is still quite well presented. His tactical and analytical proficiencies are highlighted as well as they could have been. Though I do find that the mystique around him has been a little, it's been somewhat de-emphasized. Therefore he doesn't really have the same presence, the same things that really captivated about him. But really, my biggest problems with the characterization actually come from the second figure of note, namely something happened with my voice there. Sorry, I'll restate that. My biggest problems with the characterization comes from the second figure of prominence within this book, Darth Vader. I do have to say that I enjoy the way Zahn writes Anakin Skywalker, fully capturing his adventurous and rebellious streak, but still leaning into his more do-gooder personality traits. And I have to say, I particularly like it when he like how he tries to separate Anakin Skywalker from Darth Vader, both in terms of how the Dark Lord views himself, but also in terms of how these figures' respective interactions with Thrawn actually, actually change when viewed, when viewed between the two narrative threads. That being said, I find Zahn's Darth Vader to not necessarily be convincing, because in the movies he always has this little bit of a menacing edge, something that really enhances his, his more malevolent, his more, his more destructive persona, and therefore, or the real threat potential that he presents. And that edge I find to be missing from Zahn's work, where he is more, where he's more a more generic destroyer. That could just, be my impression, but still, I do have to comment upon it. That being said, when it comes to the extended cast, Zahn actually does a very good job. While not a lot of characters, while those characters don't really stand out, they do, they do blend well together, and the manner in which they are presented to operate, and how it is that they assess and and place themselves within this broader setting is quite interesting to explore, and also to notice how it is that they relate to each other, which I find to be interesting to behold. If I were to name one supporting character who really does stand out, that would have to be Thrawn's second in command, Commodore Pharaoh. Not the first time Thrawn's second in command stands out. Being established in the previous book does help, I will admit that. However, I will say that this second book allows her to showcase a little bit more of herself, and of what her strengths actually are, and what her personality actually looks like, which in turn makes I find helps strengthen the narrative that this book is overall going for, and maybe even the narrative of the series as a whole. We'll have to wait and see. Overall, while there aren't really any particular elements of this book that stand out, everything that makes this book an interesting read nevertheless meshes quite effectively together, and allowing therefore this book to deliver two very distinct but still captivating and eye-catching adventure stories that I think are bound to spur readers' imaginations. My final rating for Thrawn Alliances is a 4 out of 5. And that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to the book itself or to my review of it, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe, and ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first of my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation and The Path Not Taken, are available at various book retailers under their respective master links in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out should you choose to. I also have a second channel where you can hear me talking about whatever crosses my mind, though it'll typically still be related to narrative analyses, but of works outside of the print medium. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and check that out. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on the print medium and selected works therefrom, well then I suggest you stay on this channel and go through my extensive backlog of book reviews, writing advice, and miscellaneous connected topics. If that doesn't interest you either, well then I can only suggest that you suggest or recommend that you go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And yeah, that was it for me. So until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.